Hello, everyone. The two-man band is back and
Two-man power
somewhat
trip.
better than ever. Fortunately,
Matthew Perry is not here again,
he's a
but
busy man these days.
yes, there's stuff going on. He is unavailable at the moment, so you're stuck with Stephen and I for now.
How unfortunate.
So what are we talking about today, Stephen? What has gone on in the league this week? I feel that there's been quite a bit and also almost very little in some regards, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you could say that.
Like there's been a lot, but also not a lot, if that makes
Yeah, I guess you could say that. But the big thing is Spurs are doing a Spurs, aren't they? They're bottling it like they always do.
Do we think
Hashtag
that
Mourinho out. Are we
do we
saying
think
that?
Mourinho's under pressure? That's what I was about to say.
I think the sort of manager he is, I think he's always under pressure. Unless they're
Mm.
running away with the league title, he's always under pressure just because of who he is and the
I
reputation
mean,
he
it
has.
is a COVID season as well, so he didn't have he wasn't able to build on the team the way he probably would have in a regular first season. Um, I think he still has another. I think he still deserves another season worth trying because this is his first full season. Remember, so if he's still not got them closer to top four contention next season, I'd say, yeah, he's gone. Probably even halfway through the season if it's looking like it. But I think he's safe for now. But clearly they've got issues with Kane now injured, but also the centre backs aren't good enough. And this is coming from a Liverpool fan.
Because the thing was with Tottenham and Mourinho in general, they're setting up to absorb pressure and counter. But you can't do that if your centre backs are absolutely useless and just give the ball away or just can't defend. Like, you can't play defensive tactic if your defenders can't defend. And that's kind of the problem right now. They're just soaking up pressure, and then either the defenders make a mistake or they can't really get the ball up properly and attacks just fizzle out. It's just that first half was abysmal against Chelsea. It was horrendous. They were terrible. Like, they just had no energy, no passion, no drive. They just sort of walked around aimlessly for the whole first half. It was depressing. I mean, I'm not a Spurs fan, but that was just depressing to watch.
Yeah, I think that is one of the things. I think this season, in a way, has taken a lot of my enjoyment of football out of it. I find that without the fans and with the way some teams set up, and I'm not talking about Tottenham and Chelsea necessarily here, I'm just meaning in general, I do think this season is quite unenjoyable. And I know some people will enjoy it because look how close teams are together, but I mean, the actual games are quite unenjoyable to watch sometimes. Like, it's just with the no fans and the amount of injuries that teams are getting because the lack of preseason and congestion. I don't know.
Just like the sheer amount of games that are on, it just seems a bit
Yeah, you get
overwhelming.
fatigue. Yeah, you get fatigue.
I didn't watch a lot of games this past week. I think the only one I really watched was the Tottenham versus Chelsea game. All the others I didn't. I either watched partially. I watched the Man United game partially, but ever since it got to like 4-0, I was like, okay, this game is over. I can't be bothered to watch the rest.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because there are just so many things to it. At this point, I'm watching more basketball and American football than I'm watching football nowadays. Like, I'm still keeping up to date with it. But I'm kind of like, oh, this is just.
I'm watching more people talk about football than actually watching football these days. Like, people channels that talk about, channels and podcasts that talk about football. I'm consuming more of that than actually watching football games or playing stuff like Football Manager and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of games. Although, and it seems to me at the moment that the games that seem to be good end up being a bit underwhelming. And then the games you don't think are going to be good and you don't bother watching, they end up being the best ones.
Every game amongst the top sides, like the actual top six, almost every game there's been pretty dull or pretty low scoring games, you know.
So I watched that United Arsenal game, and my God, that was a slog to get through.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But you give David Luiz team of the week in regard after his performance in that game.
Yeah, because the Arsenal defended well. That was just Arsenal part of the bus, and they did it well.
So moving on, so with Tottenham, we see that they are struggling, but the team they went up against, pretty good start so far.
Ever since Tuchel's came in, they haven't conceded a goal. I think with Tuchel's system, the way he's sets out to play is he sort of steadied the ship, but he hasn't really set sail yet. If you get what I mean.
Yeah. He stopped the leaks, but he's not pushed forward.
Pushing forward, yeah.
Yeah, because they said it was the first time a manager at Chelsea's went first three games without conceding a goal, and the last one to do it was Mourinho. Bear in mind the squad Mourinho had in his first season at Chelsea. That's a pretty good accomplishment with this Chelsea squad. Obviously, you always get a bounce when a new manager comes in. We all know that. We've all seen it happen at countless clubs, countless times.
But Chelsea players now, they actually look like they're drilled and they know what they're actually doing and they know what their roles are. Whereas under Lampard, they just seem to sort of just pass it around and sort of just not really have a plan. But under Tuchel, it seems they have a plan, but it's not as entertaining to watch. But I mean, it's a results-based game at the end of the day. So, you might not score as many goals, but at least you're going to win games and not concede silly goals that they have been doing. I guess as a neutral, it isn't. Obviously, I'd rather see more goals, but if you're a Chelsea fan like our absent Mr. Perry, I'm sure he would be pleased.
Yeah, he's just pleased to see them playing well.
Yeah,
I will say that I think you'll see more goals when fans come back, because fans won't allow some of the performances teams have been giving out. With regards to Chelsea, what do you think they've got to do now to step it up? Because obviously they're not conceding, but they've not had really too many games where they look brilliant going forward. Like, yeah, they beat, was it Burnley 2-0?
Yeah, Burnley.
They beat Tottenham 1-0 and they drew 0-0 in Tuchel's first game. So while he's got 7 points out of 9, which is pretty good, it's not been like fully wins. It's not dominant wins. It's
because
get a goal, get out.
When you watch Chelsea right now, their aim is to control the game, and excuse me, they lack in when they dominate the midfield, they pass and keep the ball very well, but when it actually gets to the final third, it just seems to have that lack of that cutting edge and that sort of energy at the end and that final product. That's where they're sort of lacking right now. And in that game, Werner actually he looked all right relative to how he's been performing this season, but he just didn't seem to ever seem like scoring. Like, he did well in like build-up play and stuff like that, but he never really looked to score, or Chelsea didn't really look lethal. Like, if you were Spurs, you weren't really that worried.
Yeah, Werner's never, like, with regards to how he's played at Chelsea, when he first started, he was playing well but not scoring, and then his form's dipped. But the issue, he never was like woeful from the start. It was just he wasn't scoring, and he was brought in to score. He's a striker. Obviously, they were playing him out position and such, but he is an attacking minded player. He should be scoring more.
Because in that game, they were doing a lot of crosses into the box, but there was no one there. Like, Werner's not a physical presence in the box. Who are you going to cross to? Mason Mount?
Gives me PTSD. Aimless crosses into the box with no one there.
Like, if you had Giroud or Abraham up front that game, probably they would have gone the end of some of those crosses and possibly scored. But it just,
speaking of Tottenham and their troubles, shall we move on to the other team in North London? Just with regards to mixed bag of performances. They had a good defensive outing against United. Got a draw there. Less impressive outing against Wolves. 2 red cards. Leno forgot where the box was. David Luiz was sent off. Obviously, you feel that was a poor decision. I stand by it. Even if it wasn't a red card challenge, last man stops a goal scoring opportunity, to me, red card, because it doesn't have to be a bad challenge at that point. It just has to be last man. Last man is crucial. You see where players will give a slight pull on something. The player goes down and it's a red card because he is the last man, even though it's nothing compared to, like, you could have a leg breaking tackle that's only a yellow card further up the pitch. So it's a difficult one, because I understand your complaints with that tackle, but to me, I think it is the right decision. And I've seen some Arsenal fans complaining about it. I've seen other Arsenal fans that kind of went, yeah, it's a red card. David Luiz is a donkey. So
agree.
Go on. Give me a reasoning for why. Like, if you can, besides go and like just try and actually present
me personally,
change my mind.
I've watched the clip of the alleged penalty, or there was a penalty, the penalty incident. I've seen what happened over and over again on repeat, and I don't know where the contact is. I don't see any contact, personally. I mean,
isn't it he pulls him back? I'm pretty sure that was the contact, wasn't it?
He has his arms by his side. I think they are alleging that he clipped his knee clipped into him or something, but I didn't personally see anything. Maybe just because it was not it was going too fast to see it, or it was so light that it was really hard to see.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. It doesn't matter how light the touch is. If they believe he has interfered with the player in an attack, a goal scoring opportunity, last man, no matter how soft the tackle is, do you agree with the last man denying goal scoring opportunity?
Yeah, if you trip the last man, yeah, it's a penalty and a red card. But in my opinion, I don't see where he trips him or where he touches him. And if he does touch him, it's very, very light and not enough to send someone down.
Arsenal did appeal the red card, and the appeal was denied. So David Luiz is still out of action. Leno, I believe, is also out for a while now as well due to his red card.
Which was totally, he just, I don't know what, he just forgot how to play football.
He panicked.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, we've seen other keepers run out. Even Kelleher ran out this week while Alisson was sick. Headed the ball. Leno just kind of panicked. He saw the attacking player coming at him, and he went to head the ball.
Well, Lloris did it too in the Chelsea game. He sort of had to awkwardly header it back in because he got a back pass, and Chelsea almost scored from it. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Keepers are they practice, having to run out and head the ball. But I think Leno just panicked under the pressure of the attacking player coming at him.
But you can see as soon as he touched it, he put his arm in very quickly, like in panic. He's like, "Oh shit!" Like he knew what he.
Yeah, but it was a red card. I don't think there's any arguments about it being a red card. So yeah, Arsenal mixed bag again. The reason I'm discussing these two teams is I want to. We discussed who we think are going to be top four at the end of last week, and I do want us to kind of discuss that at some point in this episode, because obviously with how close it is, it's constantly changing, but also quite consistent. It's still the same four teams that were top four last week, but obviously point totals have changed a bit. So do we think Chelsea, Tottenham and Arsenal, with the way they're currently playing, are realistic contenders to Leicester, United, City, Liverpool, or do we think that they're just off it right now?
Out of those three teams, I think the most likely is Chelsea.
Do we see them coming up? Because they're still, 9th, 8th?
It's a possibility. There's definitely a possibility. Again, I think it's I would say less likely than, but if I had to pick any of those three teams that could possibly get into the top four, I think Chelsea.
I agree with Chelsea probably being the only one that could, but it's just when you look at they've got to basically have a perfect season now and hope that those four teams are dropping enough points because they're all ahead already. And to be honest, besides City, all three of those teams have dropped points the last few weeks. United have dropped quite a few. Leicester have dropped a few. Liverpool dropped some during the week once again. So really, it is there's still competition there, but I still think those three teams will be in the top four by the end of the season. Obviously, some of them are in worse form than others, but I'm not going to touch that right now. So let's see. We discussed Arsenal and their defensive mishaps. I take it David Luiz will not be reappearing in the team of the week this time.
Definitely not. No.
And Leno will also be mysteriously absent.
Yeah, don't think there'll be any Arsenal players. To be fair, Pepe did all right. He's been doing a lot better recently. Yeah,
but has he been doing 72 million worth?
I mean, no, he's never 72 million, but he's looked like an actual competent player recently.
Do we think that we should move on to another game that's between two big teams this week? Or when I say big, they're two teams that are currently on the top half of the table, which was Man United against Southampton.
Oh dear.
Didn't expect that result, did we? Bearing in mind how United have been playing going into the game, how Southampton have been playing this season. Obviously, a red card in the first 70 seconds completely derails everything.
So I mean, it's his debut. It's not his debut, but his first start. The manager's put, okay, I'll put you in. I'm going to start you.
But it was just injury stuff, wasn't it? It was just injury problems as well.
That was part of it, yeah. But
I don't think it's a fair scoreline for Hasenhüttl or that Southampton team.
It was fair on the day because Southampton were
but they had red cards, which immediately changes the dynamic of the game, especially from that early on. United smelt blood. They went for it, and did they go for it?
Fair play to Ollie, because he's been criticised for not going for it enough, but he did. Like the fullbacks are playing as wingers.
To be honest, I think the only reason he went for it was because of the red cards. I think Ollie. I think that's the reason why I don't consider United a title contender, even though they are currently second. It's because they don't play like a team that's confident. They play like a team that's going for the draw. Like the Arsenal game's a prime example. United should be going there for going, we are good enough to get these 3 points. Go for it. And instead, it was sitting back. It was a don't want to lose instead of we have to go win. And I think that is the difference between champions and
top four.
Less than. Yeah. Like you see it with the way Liverpool and City have played over the last few weeks. Last few years. You've seen it with the way Ferguson used to play his United teams, and Mourinho, even though he was more defensive, it was always go out and get the win. But like Pep and Klopp never sit back. And I think Ollie's going to have to adapt a similar kind of not same tactics, but a similar kind of mentality of these 3 points are ours. Anything less is not acceptable. Go out and win.
But the thing is, do they have the players to be fearless?
I think Rashford and Bruno do have that mentality. I think Pogba on the right day does. The rest, I think Scott McTominay actually does. I don't think he's got the talent per se, but I think mentality he does.
Yeah.
Look, Shaw, if you'd asked me 2 months ago, no. If you ask me right now, yes. I think Eric Bailly's incredibly underrated as well. I think they've got enough players there to get it going. There's some that I think aren't good. I don't think Martial's got it personally. I think Lindelof doesn't. I don't think De Gea has it personally. Aaron Wan-Bissaka still kind of. I think
Maguire has it.
Maguire and Aaron Wan-Bissaka are still kind of like I'm on the fence about because I can't quite tell. If that makes sense.
I do like Wan-Bissaka personally, but I'm not.
I think defensively he's very good, but I think attacking wise, him and Trent are polar opposites. One is an incredible attacking fullback, and the other is an incredible defensive fullback, and they're both useless at the opposite end. You know, Trent great going forward, not great defensively. Wan-Bissaka great defensively, not great going forward. So I think it'll be interesting to see what United do. I think they've got the capabilities. It's whether they get smart with their recruitment and smart with like this next summer. They've got to get it right, because if they don't, it's actually going to set them back more than actually just be level.
As long as Ed Woodward is the director of football, they're never going to have a smart transfer.
I mean, as long as the Glazers are in charge.
Yeah,
like we forget the Glazers took over as like the owners of Man United during Ferguson's reign, so we didn't necessarily see the impact of them during it, like the leadership impact, because Ferguson had the club in an iron fist. But once he's gone, we've definitely seen very poor management decisions from the top down.
It sums it all up when De Gea has his worst season in years and you reward him with more money a week than Alexis Sanchez.
Well, what's De Gea on now? Like 400, 500k a week? He's on something ridiculous.
375 grand a week.
Like, that's stupid money for De Gea. There's so many better players in the league on like half of that.
And let's be honest, like, you might say, oh, it's to ward off interest, but who's going to buy him?
And you've got Dean Henderson on the bench as well. You know what I mean? It's not like you've got nobody on the bench. You've got a good English keeper there who's very young. Yeah, he might be a bit green, especially for a team like Man United. But if you grow him right, you've got another Schmeichel, Van der Sar, potential De Gea when he was a bit younger, potential keeper. And the thing is, De Gea's still kind of actually quite young for a keeper. He's only, 32 now? If that.
I don't think he's that. I think he's like 29, 30. I think he's 30.
I think he's at 30 now. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think he's 30 dead on.
Yeah, but that's, keepers don't really hit their prime till they're in their early 30s, realistically. Same with how defenders hit their prime a bit later than attackers. You know what I mean? Like, it's different areas of the pitch. They hit their primes at different points. Like, so yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what United do. I do think they're top 4 this year, unless they just drop. I don't realistically see that happening too much unless an injury, season-ending injury happens to Bruno Fernandes.
I think United have been, like, across the season as a whole, they've probably been one of the most consistent teams in the league, probably.
They weren't at the start, if you remember.
Maybe not at the start.
They lost their opening game to Palace, I believe. Then they had the 6-1 to Spurs,
Okay,
I wouldn't say they were at the start. They have been since about November, I'd say.
Yeah, since sort of December, January, they've been one of the more... Them and City have been the 2 most consistent teams in the league.
Of course.
Unless you're counting West Brom as consistently shit.
Liverpool consistently frustrating. So United, we still think will probably be top 4. Mate, probably.
Yeah, they will.
Is it weird to me? And it might be a bit biased, but I don't know. Despite Liverpool's recent poor performances against teams and their injury mishaps, which, let's be real, the main issue for why Liverpool have struggled this season is the number of injuries. Like, these are the players we had out against Brighton, right? Alisson, Van Dijk, Gomez, Matip, Fabinho, Keita, Jota, Mane. Almost all those players would be potential starters.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you haven't been able
Definitely
to
had
have
a bad luck.
you haven't been able to have a consistent lineup throughout the whole season.
I think that's been a big issue because like the way like it shifts the team dynamic, it shifts how you play out, it shifts.
Which means you can't really build any momentum because you're having to chop and change every week.
And then you can't even rest some other players because basically like Mane had to keep playing until he was injured. Fabinho had to keep playing until he was injured. You know, Trent can't get a rest. Robertson can't be rested. Salah can't be rested. Like
Tsimikas is still isn't.
I know,
injured,
but Tsimikas has only just come back himself.
Oh, I didn't know he was injured.
Yeah, he was injured in March, November, December. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. But I still don't really worry about them. I mean, if they continue to play the way they are, I'll worry about missing top four. But right now, at this point in the season, I'm still pretty confident they're going to be there. Yeah, I think title is unrealistic unless City bottle it, which they aren't going to do, unless once again a big injury happens.
Well, again with City, they have momentum because apart from up top, they've had a consistent lineup.
But when you look at their depth, you know, they rested. What was it? It was Diaz or Stones they rested a few weeks ago, and Laporte was on instead. And I'm like, come on, man, how is it fair? You know, like when you look at their depth and possessions because of how much money they can spend. And I'm not like everyone knows how much money City can spend.
That Chelsea bench against Tottenham was ridiculous. The amount of world-class players they had on that bench.
Yeah, but the issue for Chelsea is none of those world-class players were playing like world-class players, and that clearly was the issue. Yeah, but I wouldn't class Giroud as world-class nowadays. I class him as impact. I class him as a very good impact, underrated, but whether that means he's world-class or not, you know what I mean? So we discussed United.
Also, I want to say with Southampton, that game against Villa was an absolute travesty in terms of refereing. How that was not that handball wasn't a penalty, I don't know. And then the offside, again, his armband's offside. The
offsides are getting ridiculous now, aren't they? That's the thing now with football as well. You can't even celebrate anymore. You're like your team scores, your team concedes, and you're kind of looking like, is it offside? Like there's nothing now. It has just kind of destroyed the game. You know, I think it's different in other sports that already had that kind of stop-start, checking some plays kind of stuff because you got used to it. It didn't bother you. But
thank God fans aren't in the fucking stadiums or the refs would be getting hounded. Like this would not go down well.
This season's worse than last season, and that last season was heavily criticised. You know,
but the Southampton fans in that game against Villa in the crowd, they would have been just hurling stuff at the referee. They would have gone booed.
Well, that's the mad thing. Like Kevin Friend and who was the referee,
Lee Mason, I think.
So not Kevin Friend. Michael Oliver is going to be the referee.
Because I know Southampton
Michael Oliver is going to be the referee for the Liverpool Man City game.
Because Southampton put in a request, didn't they, to not get certain referees?
I think a few teams have got referees they don't like. David Coates has not been an official or VAR official for a Liverpool game since the Everton game where he missed the Van Dijk Pickford incident. He's not been involved in a single Liverpool game since then. So clearly there's something that's happened there. But Michael Oliver, who's widely considered probably the best ref, one of the best top three right now in the Premier League currently. Michael Oliver, I'd say.
Are they?
What's his name? Smith. Maybe not Smith. He's the bald one who's like very no nonsense, but he tends to be quite fair, even if sometimes you don't like his decisions.
Well, you mean Lee Mason?
No, not Lee Mason. No, definitely not Lee Mason. No. What's his name? It's not Atkinson.
I don't know. Sorry.
Anyway, basically, there's a few refs that you consider pretty good, but Michael Oliver is considered probably one of the best refs going right now in the Premier League, and he's not brilliant compared to referees elsewhere. Like that shows you how bad the quality of refereeing is right now.
I think this is the worst state refereeing has been in years.
I wouldn't say it's obviously it's their fault, but I think it's the training's either let them down. There's not enough comeuppance for bad decision making.
I think it's the lack of accountability, which is the problem.
Yeah, but I think there's also an issue with the training. What I mean is, like, if a team's got poor training, then they don't have great players. Especially like youth systems, you know, England a decade and a bit ago now put a lot of money into investing in their youth systems. And we're seeing the benefit now. And you see the likes of Rashford, Sancho, Trent, Foden, you know, all these great young players that have come through. That's because of the money that was invested 10 years ago. And clearly, the money that's invested in training referees is not brilliant, because otherwise we wouldn't have. People are going to complain about referee decisions regardless. When it's against your team, like it could be a foul, and you'll go, "Oh, ref, that was nothing." You're
Whereas
automatically.
before, it seemed like
thinking
there
it's
was
a
one a
disagree.
week. There was like one incident a week. Now it's one incident a game.
I think VAR has done quite a bit as well, because the offsides,
Yeah.
some of them I don't have an issue with. It's the inconsistencies that annoy me with offsides and fouls. Like, you see one thing that's a foul, but then it happens in another game and it's not, or it's a handball in one game, but then it's not in another. And you're very confused about what the rules are. Like we've been watching football since we were very young. We obviously know a good detail about the rules. We're not newbies, novices who don't. But I'm having trouble now understanding what the rules are. Like if I hit someone's arm, I'm like, oh, that's a handball. No, wait, what? And then it's in the penalty area. It's like, oh, that can't be handball. Look at the angle. Oh, it is? What? Like I have no idea anymore. Like what is a handball and what's not.
Oh, in the championship, we don't have VAR, so.
I don't know.
I hope Brentford bottle it again, so we don't have to play under VAR.
I think VAR as a system is good.
Because you see,
like the application of it is shocking.
Like you don't hear anywhere near as many complaints in like other leagues about VAR than you do in the Premier League. Like in the Bundesliga, you don't hear much about it.
Maybe it's because of us being more like in Britain and the Premier League being huge. We're gonna hear more about it. I don't know. I'd have to ask fans in Italy and fans in France and fans in Spain. I do know the Champions League and the World Cup, it seemed to be a lot smoother. The World Cup especially, it was actually looking very good in the World Cup.
I do follow the Bundesliga. Like I don't really watch any games in full, but I keep up with all the highlights from all the games, and there never seems to be any incidents with VAR and stuff that come up, or not regularly anyway. So I think it's been more of a problem in the Premier League than probably in any other league.
No, I agree to that. So moving on from bad officiating and mistakes in every game, shall we move on to the big game this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest games of the season, probably.
The biggest game of the season.
Yeah,
but unless is there going to be another Manchester derby in the league this season?
Sorry, hang on. To be honest, I don't understand how it would. I don't know. I think it's Liverpool, Man City have been the two top teams in England for so long now, and it's been quite consistent. Like it was last year, Anfield was the big one. The year before that, the Etihad. The year before that, Anfield. It's, I don't know if there is just another Manchester derby, but I don't know if by that point it will be as a bigger game. It all depends on point totals.
I mean, in terms of point totals, obviously the Manchester derby is probably slightly bigger than City versus Liverpool, just in terms of where the teams are in terms of points. But in on paper, this would probably be the biggest game of the season so far, anyway.
Yeah, on paper so far, absolutely. I did want to touch on one thing quickly, because I don't know if you've heard before we get onto this game. Did you hear about the Leipzig Liverpool Champions League conundrum?
Yeah, but Liverpool could get a 3-0 win.
Because here's the issue, right? Because there's no brilliant way to handle this. So either Liverpool cannot travel into Germany, so the Leipzig have got to find a neutral destination and then quarantine for 14 days once they come back into Germany, which messes up them in the league. Or Liverpool take the first home leg, but that still doesn't negate the quarantine time that obviously Leipzig players would have to have. So there's no way Leipzig can get around being able to play this game in the Champions League and not drop points in the league. And so what do? Do you focus on the league and take the 3-0 forfeit? Or do you what do you think the answer is going to be here? Because I genuinely don't know. I mean, I do not want Liverpool to have the 3-0 forfeit as a thing to help them go through. I think that'd be utter bullshit. But I cannot see any other answer here.
It's very tricky because, realistically, Leipzig are not going to win the Champions League. It's sort of 5,000 to 1 sort of odds. So, if they have to sacrifice the Champions League, I say just do it. Just don't play the game or put out a bunch of youth players who you don't mind having to quarantine. Yeah, what Villa did in the FA Cup.
It's disappointing, really, isn't it? Because this looked like a potential good game with these two teams that do play attacking football. But it's what's going on in the world right now. Germany's clearly felt they need to quarantine, like just block off travel. Can't make exceptions for football. It is what it is.
I'll say for Leipzig, just focus on finishing top 4 in the Bundesliga and getting
And go
Champions League
again.
next season. Yeah.
Well, they kind of need to as well because they're going to be losing a few more of the top players. So they're going to have to find replacements. Moving on to, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that quickly. So Liverpool v Man City. What do you expect from this game? I'm not going to get scoreline from your prediction of winners just yet. I want to know what you think team-wise.
With City, obviously, City have not been as lethal this season. Neither have Liverpool, to be fair. But
yeah,
I think it's one of those sort of games where it's going to be a 1-0 or a 2-0. Or a 1-0 or something like that. I don't see too many goals being scored. I think the way Liverpool have came up against lesser defenses with how good Man City have been defensively, I honestly don't see them scoring, to be honest.
What I will say in disagreement to that is the kind of defense they're coming up against are the sit back 6 men to 10 men in the box, head it out, just sit back, such, which is not Man City style. They attack, their possession team, they press. They don't play the same way Brighton or Burnley do, right? When teams have come out to actually try and get a win against Liverpool, West Ham, Tottenham, like any time we come up against a team that's actually come out and attacked us, we've actually done well because that's allowed us to play our game. So I understand the point with how well Man City have been defensively, and they've been incredible. Was it 1 goal conceded in the John Stones and Diaz partnership in the last 12 games or something? Ridiculous.
Like every time I see the score line, they always seem to have a clean sheet every week or every game.
No, they do. But what I'm saying is Liverpool's poor form against defenses. It's you have to remember the tactics these teams implement. Like Brighton were sitting with like 8 men in the box. Liverpool don't have a way to beat that right now. They might have had it if like Van Dijk was fit because set pieces, or Fabinho could get the ball back and press, or Henderson in midfield. All these players are missing. Robertson and Trent can't bomb up the wings the same way.
Well, you've been saying that the teams that try out and go to win against Liverpool, they've not been defensively solid. That's Tottenham, their defense has been dodgy. West Ham, their defense isn't nowhere near as good as a lot of other teams. Chelsea, again, under Lampard, their defense was dodgy. I think City are a different breed in terms of their defense this season. Again, they might not have on paper the best defense in the league, but in terms of form, I think they're probably...
No, I completely agree with your point. What I'm saying is like the poor form Liverpool's attack has had against defenses in the last few weeks. I don't think it's as big a factor as some people make it out to be for this game because of the difference in tactical. Like, don't get me wrong, City's defense is excellent still right now, but because of the way they play, it will give the likes of Salah, Mane the opportunity to play their game as well. And we all know how good those two can be. Good news is Fabinho and Mane are potentially back for this one. I think there's rumours that Kabak or Davies will start. Just one of them. Henderson might go into midfield again. I think Kabak will start. Henderson in midfield. Kabak and Fabinho at the back for now. I don't know. Like, I really want Davies and Kabak to hit the ground running so Fabinho can go back into midfield, at least against smaller teams, because like it's not the big teams we have a massive issue with right now. It's the small teams.
This is not the game to take a risk.
No, absolutely not. So I think Fabinho's going to be back in at centre back. I think Alisson is back, but they're playing it very close. I can't tell if he'll be back, and I really hope he is. Like Kelleher's done well when he's been called upon. Even that Brighton goal, you can't really fault him for that. He has done well this season.
He's not been spectacular.
He's been a good backup keeper. He's been better than Adrian. But this is a big ask of him. The good news is I believe Kevin De Bruyne is still out.
That's huge.
I say good news for Liverpool, but Gundogan's been playing like him, so
yeah. Actually, no, I wouldn't say that. I think Gundogan's again, he's been as good as him, but I don't think he's been the same type of player. He's been more of a sort of Lampard-esque sort of player.
I get it. But it's interesting to see. I think this game's going to be. I think Liverpool will be more confident of getting 3 points at this game than they would have been against the likes of Brighton, the likes of Sheffield United in a few weeks, even the likes of Everton in a few weeks as well. I think Man City, because of the way they play, like remember Man City when they had their 100-point season where they were just unbeatable, because of the way the defense was weaker then. It was. But because of the way they attacked, it allowed Liverpool to attack back, and they ended up winning 4-3. And then in the Champions League, they beat Man City comfortably. So I think because these two teams attack each other, they play possession, but they're going forward the whole time. Then I think it's going to be an open game. I think despite, like, it's kind of like when you get to big derby matches or rivalries, form isn't as big a factor. You know what I mean? Like I remember Liverpool went up against Everton the season where we missed out on the title, and Everton had been on like a 5-game losing streak, and then they played like the best game they had that entire season against us to get a draw. And that's what I mean about form is a bit different when it is a big game. Like
with these games, you never know whether there'll be a cagey sort of 0-0 or 1-0. Or they're going to be like a 3-2 or a 4-3 or something crazy like that. With these games, you can never really tell. And it's kind of difficult because you don't know if teams want to go for it or if they want to be more conservative. I think if you're City, actually, I think they probably would want to be more conservative in this game. Just either try and just go for a 1-0 win or a draw. I think
in a way, despite the fact that Liverpool lose this game, they're out of the title race completely. In a way, I think Man City have got more to lose from losing this match in a way.
100%. 100%.
But means if Liverpool lose this match, it's a nail in a coffin that's already in the ground, right? But, they still got top 4. Liverpool get top 4. They get their players back. They bring in some new players in the summer. They'll go again. And, as long as Van Dijk doesn't have another season-ending injury, we're good, right? Let's be real here. I think if Liverpool hadn't had some of the injuries they had, they would look different this season. Obviously, they weren't looking brilliant before some of these injuries, but
well, I mean, look at Southampton since they've had a load of injuries. They have been abysmal.
It's shocking how much it derails your team because it's not just the players being gone; it's the adjustments you've got to make for them being gone. And then players are playing with players they're not familiar playing with.
Like in that game against United, if they started with Walker Peters and Vestergaard, that would never be a 9-0. Even if you had a red card, that would never have been a 9-0. Maybe like a 3-0, but never a 9-0.
So,
also, just a quick shout out to Brighton getting 6 points against Tottenham and Liverpool. Just quickly give them a shout out as well.
They tactically they played well. They deserved to win against Liverpool. I don't like the way they played. I don't like the sitting back and soaking up pressure and just playing like 8 men behind the ball. I do not like watching it. I do not like when teams play it.
I think that's
obviously
them sort of. I think they're more confident about staying up now. I think they're not out of the relegation scrap, but they're definitely
I don't really mean just Brighton here. I mean like when teams do it. I hate the way Burnley play. I hate the way that most relegation sides do play. I don't enjoy it. I think it's
I hate watching that. Whenever we play Rotherham, it's just the most depressing, miserable game.
Like, I just hate that style of football. I'm sorry. I know they play that way because they've not got the quality to go head to head, but I hate it. I think
that's probably why you don't watch the Championship, Anthony, because that's half of the teams.
But that's why I love watching good football. I love watching sport, but I love watching it when it's good. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, Brentford are in sort of an anomaly in the Championship with how they play.
Yeah,
that's not how a lot of teams play.
Attacking football is the way football's meant to be played. Don't worry, I love good defensive play when it's there, but I don't like it when it's 8 players behind the ball just jumping on a player as soon as he gets the ball to get away from him. Like Salah now has 3 players marked on him at any one time whenever he gets the ball. It's infuriating to watch.
If you've got the money to spend on good players, then you should play attacking football. But when you're a team like Burnley who has nothing, they've got a shoestring budget.
Course. I understand.
They can't really do anything
else. I understand it. It doesn't mean I have to like it. You know what I mean? So Brighton tactically been brilliant in the last few games, especially setting up with this back 3. I don't have to like the tactics, but I can appreciate the brilliance of them. They played
football hipsters are finally just reveling in their validation over Graham Potter being the next coming of Jesus.
He's done well this season. I thought he's been a good manager throughout. I will say your Hasenhüttl love train was a bit derailed after that 9-0.
Again, injuries.
I know it's not really massively his fault, but come on, 2 9-0 defeats in his time at the club. That doesn't look great regardless of anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a tradition. You got to have your yearly 9-0 Southampton loss. It's like Christmas Day now. We started a tradition. Southampton have got to lose 9-0 at least once a season now.
See who does it next year then. Is there anything else we have left to discuss, or
we can go over some deadline day deals that got done? Because obviously we recorded our last podcast a
The
day or
day
two before.
deadline day.
Yeah, I think it
Okay,
might have been
the
the day before.
genuinely the four big ones I remember is Minamino to Southampton, Lingard to West Ham, who had a very good debut, and the two centre backs to Liverpool, Ben Davies from Preston North End and Ozan Kabak from
Which
Schalke.
we didn't see coming when we recorded. We didn't even mention Davis when we recorded the last podcast.
I think it literally came up a couple hours after we finished recording. But $2 million for a player that a lot of people have said is good enough for Premier League
Not even that.
already.
You're only paying $500,000 up front and then $1 million in add-ons.
Yeah, but that's my point. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a good deal because like if he isn't brilliant, what's the harm? It's $500,000. And Kabak's deal, like they wanted an obligation for 30 million, ended up being an option for 18.
Michael Edwards could sell water to a drowning man.
Yeah, did you see the KFC Twitter pages tweet about it? Michael Edwards would come in for a singer box and leave with the secret recipes, three ovens and a fucking like, well, I can't remember the last bit, but basically the point was Michael Edwards is a genuine excellent. I don't understand how he does it. I can't, like, when you look at some of the deals he's made for Liverpool players or selling Liverpool players, it's truly incredible. Like, it's genuinely like someone playing FIFA. You know, like the Coutinho deal.
I think he might have mind control powers. He was part of a top secret government program and he's escaped the lab with his mind control powers. The ones that
always impress me are the Andy Robertson deal, the Philip Coutinho deal, and hell, even the Jota deal this year, where it was only like $5 million.
Because it's not like it's both ways. It's $9 million signing and selling players. Like you're getting amazing.
Dominic Solanke to Bournemouth. I still
Jordan Ives to Bournemouth.
Yeah, but the Dominic Solanke one surprised me more.
Yeah, that was like 25 million, wasn't it? 25 million.
Ryan Brewster to Sheffield United this season. 25 million for a player that never played a minute of Premier League football, really.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's brilliant. He genuinely is. I don't understand how he does it, but he does it, and he is he deserves as much credit. Maybe not as much, but he deserves a lot of credit for how Liverpool have turned around from Rodgers and Hodgson to now. Like him and Klopp, the two of them, but like Klopp has very little to do with the transfer signings. He has the final saying, right? And if there are players he actually wants, they do become a priority. But Klopp did not want Klopp. Not that he didn't want Salah. They're like, no. He didn't actively go, I want Mohamed Salah on the team. It was a player that Edwards went, well, he kind of fits our system. And look what he's doing here. We can get him for this much. We think he'd be a good player for us. And Klopp went, okay. And we signed Mohamed Salah.
Yeah, I think Klopp has a lot of trust in him to get the players he wants.
Yeah.
Well, not so necessarily the player he wants, but the players who will suit him.
Work.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Kabak. I think he's got a high ceiling, a lot of upside. Obviously, he's still a young defender. He's going to make a few stupid decisions, at least in these few months we're watching him. But I think we'll see flashes of what he can be.
He was a good player in a poor team.
Yeah, I think Ben Davies will also surprise. I think he'll be pretty good as well, and maybe not like.
Well, he can put himself in the shop window to sign for a sort of mid-table team in the summer.
To be honest, I'd rather keep them both than have Matip leave in the summer. Matip's on like 100k and can't play 3 games in a row. I love Matip. I will always love Matip, but I think he's. Well,
if you don't sell him in the summer, maybe next year. You know,
I think Liverpool got to trim the deadwood and bring in better reinforcement / potential replacements. Like Jota was the first one because at 23 he is 5 years younger than our current.
Shaqiri's got to go. Oxlade-Chamberlain's probably got to go.
I would rather keep Shaqiri out with the ones. I think Keita, Oxlade, Matip, and Origi are the 4. Maybe not Oxlade because Oxlade is weird. Sometimes he's brilliant and sometimes he's useless. Keita, Divock, and Matip, the 3 I absolutely want gone.
Well, Matip, you get rid of Keita over Oxlade if you can get a good fee.
Keita, I think we can still get 25 to 30 million for, especially with Edwards.
Just cut your losses and get him out the door.
Get him out because he's on 120k a week. He's missed more games than he's played for Liverpool actually in his time here. Like he came in the same window as Fabinho, and Fabinho's played like double the minutes. I think Divock Origi, I don't know why he's still there. He is not good enough. I see him come on and I groan. And I think there are better players we can bring in. We need to bring in competition for Firmino, realistically.
If he didn't sort of provide those sort of big game moments over the years, I think he wouldn't be at Liverpool anymore.
It was the one season though. It was the one season where he had he had the Everton last minute goal. He had the goal against Newcastle where he scored in the last minute. He had the Barcelona semi-final. He had the goal in the Champions League final. He had all these like goals in that one season because he'd been on one season before. People thought he was at the door. He stayed. And then
Those
he had a
moments
couple
have
of.
basically just carried him to somehow still be at the club.
It was the minute he changed his hair. When he had the dreadlocks, he was incredible. The minute he shaved his head, useless.
There is one more interesting transfer we haven't mentioned. Josh King to Everton. What do you think of that one?
I can see why they need him, because they do need a backup striker. Because Dominic Calvert-Lewin realistically is their only
reliable striker.
Yeah, because I know Carlson can play there, but he's really
Tosin got shipped off on loan again to Besiktas.
Yeah, but he's not good enough. We know that.
Yeah.
So they do need backup for Calvert-Lewin, who has actually went strangely quiet considering how hot he started the season. He started like genuine European Euro 2021
he's
contention.
Been scoring. He's just not been scoring he's scoring like one goal every couple of games now instead of
but what I mean is
one or two
Salah
every
had a
game.
poor run of form and still managed to stay ahead of him in the Golden Boot race, which means
because the thing with Mohamed Salah is he will score like 8 goals in 5 games and then go with 5 games without a goal. He's that sort of player. He seems to go on amazing runs and then just dries up.
I do think his goal contributions per game, goal assists, he is if you look at that number, he's got to be one of the most efficient goal scoring players to ever play in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think those goal contributions are heavily weighed in favour of goals than assists. But I mean, that's fair enough. That's what he's in there to do. So fair enough.
I don't know how well you know your football history, but Mohamed Salah is the first Liverpool player since Ian Rush to score 20 plus goals in all competitions in 4 consecutive seasons.
He's a good player. What
can be said only about 5 Liverpool players in their entire history that have done that. Suarez didn't do it. Torres did not do it. Like you're going back to the 60s for the one who did it before Rush did. Like that. Those numbers are incredible.
If Salah was English, we'll be talking about him like he was the best English player of all time.
I genuinely think Salah has a case for being top 5 in the world right now. I know people disagree, but I think top 10 you can't argue with. I think he has a case for top 5.
He just plays for a shit national team. That's just the problem with him. Yeah. That's why he just doesn't get as much recognition as he probably deserves. But before we go,
what people expected of him when he arrived in the Premier League again to what he's done.
Yeah, nobody could have seen that coming. Yeah, you would have thought he would have been a decent player, but nobody would have thought he would have been this world-class player that he's been. I mean, same when people were laughing when Liverpool paid like 35 million for Milne.
I remember United fans giving us hassle because we bought Milne and they bought Mkhitaryan, and they were like gloating about it. I love going back and looking at players hyping up signings that were awful, like Alexis Sanchez. Oh, excellent. The piano. You remember when he arrived at United and he had the piano? That was how they introduced him. He was playing a red piano. Oh, yeah, excellent.
That's the sort of memory I'd gone deep in the memory hole that you've now just brought up. But anyway, I think we'll wrap up soon, but there's one more huge transfer that we haven't discussed yet. Winston Reid on loan to Brentford. Signing of the window. Brilliant signing. I didn't realize
Winston Reid was still playing football.
Neither did I. thought he was on loan to the MLS or something. I didn't realize he was still actually on the books of West Ham still. But you know what? He's worth
genuinely thought he'd
retired.
He's a decent player. I'm not even joking. I thought he'd retired. What age is he now? 32?
32. Pontus Jansson, like Matip, seems to be made of glass this season. So we got in an experienced centre-back. I think he'll be, at the moment, our only outfield player over 30 is Dalsgaard. And everyone else is under 30. So, it's a little bit of experience that we've been lacking, I think, at the back. So, you know what? Let's take a punt on Winnie Reid. Why not?
So he's got that Danish connection. Chances. Bearing in mind you missed out in the playoff final, the richest game in football last year. What are Brentford's promotion chances this season, Stephen? What do you think?
Well,
you
on
think you're
paper,
destined for the promised land, or you think you're stuck in?
The thing with Brentford is, on paper, they always look like they're going to go up, and then it just all falls apart spectacularly with Brentford. That's how it goes. Honestly, we're as bad as Spurs when it comes to bottling it. We are the bottling it team of the EFL. It always happens, but last time we lost the playoff final, we got promoted the next season. So that's what I'm saying. And we're second right now. We have a game in hand over Norwich, and we're only 4 points behind them. And Norwich have been absolutely running away the championship this season. So
it's possible.
Kind of says a lot.
It's possible. Just gotta believe.
Also, QPR beat Watford in the week, so that was a massive help for us. I mean, that's the only time I'm going to put praise on QPR, probably ever.
And there's one last thing I want to say, and then we're done. And I promise that. Happy birthday to Cristiano Ronaldo, 36 years old today, and still one of the best. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Just incredible. No comments. Just incredible. It is fascinating that you had all these players in different sports that you thought they'd drop off years ago, and they're still at the top. Federer, Brady, LeBron, Ronaldo, Tiger Woods. You've got all these names that I wouldn't even put Zlatan in the same category as the ones I just mentioned there, Stephen. Tiger Woods, greatest.
I mean, in terms of players that we thought would be past it, but I still banging.
No, but I'm talking about like genuinely still top 1, top 2 all time. Like LeBron at 36.
Not even close to that. Yeah, fair enough.
LeBron 36, still going. Brady's 43, about to go to his 10th Super Bowl. He's been in 13% of all Super Bowls, which is ridiculous, by the way. You look at Tiger Woods, Federer, when he lost to Nadal the first time, it was, that's him now, that's him done. He's never going to be as big. I was like, what, 12 when that happened?
Nothing compared to Kazuyoshi Miura, still playing at 53 years of age in the J League. Love to see it. King Kazu.
Right.
Anyway.
That's us for this week. No Matt this week. Hopefully next week, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I said he's a very busy man. We're very lucky to get him an extra time. I mysteriously passed away, as you may have seen, but I'm back now, back stronger,
risen from the dead.
I'm basically
a bit early
Jesus.
For Easter, isn't it?
It may not be Easter yet, but like Jesus, I've risen from the dead. Anyway, on that note, talking about Jesus, I think that's probably the best time to wrap it up. Things are getting out of hand.
Please do.
Before I offend any other religious groups, I think it's time to say goodbye.